Okay, so hi there. Welcome to Supermap GIS training camp. This year, we are going to explore the application and analysis of spatial data with Supermap iDesktopX. It would be a journey taking 8 weeks, and we will walk you all the way through basic knowledge and operations of GIS data to advanced skills in spatial analysis and cartography, as well as cutting-edge applications like integration of video and GIS. So don't worry if you're not familiar with Supermap iDesktopX, or you still have some confusions on GIS concepts. There are plenty of time for you to learn step by step. And now let me introduce myself. I'm Meng Yi, GIS engineer for education from Supermap. I'm your instructor for this whole webinar, and I believe it will be a great chance for all of us to communicate and sharpen our GIS skills. During this live webinar, you are more than welcome to raise any questions about the class in the chatting box, and my colleagues will answer them. And we'll also encourage you as a participant to help your fellow classmates if you have any idea about their questions. I will review your questions in breaks and the end of the webinar. And if you come across with problems after the webinar, feel free to reach out to me by email. And it's time for us to getting started for our first class, getting to know Supermap iDesktopX. And our class is divided into 4 parts. First, we will have a general introduction about Supermap iDesktopX, the software we are going to learn and use during this webinar. And we will learn about what its features, what advanced abilities it has, and also we will provide you with some great examples about how to use Supermap iDesktop in actual GIS projects. And in the third part, we will have a detailed introduction of the whole webinar. You will learn what topics we are going to focus on for each week and the eligibility for Supermap certification at the end of the webinar. We will also discuss the procedures to download Supermap iDesktopX and get free access to it. After that, we will take a break for 5 to 10 minutes. And finally, I will guide you to learn some of the basic knowledge of Supermap iDesktop, such as its interface and data organization. And we have prepared a set of data for you so that you can play with the actual data while you're learning how to use the software. And my colleagues will send the links to download the software and the materials. I think most of you would have downloaded it and installed Supermap iDesktopX on your computer. If you haven't done that, I would recommend you to download it first. If the downloading takes too long, don't worry, because today we will only cover some really basic operations of the software, and we will share the record of this session in 1 or 2 days in our YouTube channel, so you can have a review if you can't follow me during this live webinar. And now let's get started. So Supermap iDesktopX is a cross-platform desk GIS software. And here, the cross-platform means it can be used both in Windows operation system and Linux operation system. If you have downloaded Supermap iDesktopX yourself, then you might have noticed that on the product website, there are 2 versions of the software, Windows 64 and Linux. And actually, there is no differences between them on their functions or interface. The differences is just on which platform they are used for. And so it's easy for you to switch between operation systems in practice. And as a desktop GIS software, Supermap iDesktopX works really perfectly as it can achieve all the necessary functions, including data management, data processing, spatial analysis, and mapping. Spatial data of varied formats can be imported into Supermap iDesktopX for integrated management. And when we're dealing with large amount of data, it is also able to connect to mainstream database like PostGIS, MongoDB, and HBase. And data from multiple sources can be integrated and analyzed with our well-designed tools. And thus, we can extract the information and patterns hidden and thus we can extract information and patterns hidden inside the data. And when we have done our processing and analysis, analysis process to visualize those results. And here we have provide a lot of tools for you to visualize your result and data set in a proper way. And not only can we design our maps in the traditional GIS way, in the traditional GIS method, but also we can use AI mapping tools to automatically create maps in the style of a reference map or a reference picture. And besides, Supermap iDesktopX also provides users with more advanced and sophisticated GIS applications like processing automation, integration of GIS and video, machine learning tools, and the integration of 2D and 3D data. In our actual GIS project, usually we will have a standard workflow and of data processing and analysis. So it would be quite convenient for us to create a model by ourselves and connecting all the tools we need to, and connecting all the tools we would use following the workflow. And so when we are processing large amount of data, we can simply change our input of the model and the parameters for some of the tools, and then the other will automatically execute it for us, so that it will save a lot of time, so that it can save a lot of time for us, and we can reuse the model we created for batch processing. And here, the integration of GIS and video referring to incorporating video and GIS together, and that will unlock a new path for both data acquisition and presentation. Spatial information can be collected from video records, and also we can integrate our our spatial information into the video, and so that our spatial information could face a wider audience. And as GISer, we also will dealing with satellite images, and Supermap iDesktopX has provided us with a tool set containing all common machine learning algorithms. And with them, you can train the models with your project-specific samples and automatically complete the tasks like object detection and classification using those models once the model you trained satisfied the precision criteria. And finally, as we all know, the new training for GIS is 3D GIS, and Supermap iDesktopX is able to integrate 3D and 2D data together, like beam, oblique photography, and terrain all those commonly used 3D data can be imported into SuperMap iDesktopX, and you can analyze them with the spatial tools and present your final result in 3D scene. And if you are particularly interested about the application of 3DGs, our training hub for the last year has focused on this topic, and you can see the record for that course on our YouTube page. And now, after this general introduction to SuperMap iDesktopX, you might be interested about actually how we can use this software in our GIS project. And here are some examples. The first one is the management for a nationwide data of natural resources. And the original data is stored in varied formats, and we have used several databases to store them. And here, using SuperMap iDesktopX, it can connect it to all those databases, and so that we have access to the data inside it. And so that our land planners and sectors can use SuperMap iDesktopX as an integrated platform for the management, comparing, and updating of those spatial data in the database. And here, the two pictures shows the searching result for the same region from database from land use database and from a satellite image database. So the user can get those searching results immediate in seconds, and use those searching results for further comparison and analysis. And on the other hand, SuperMap iDesktopX can also work as a zoning and cadastral management system, where our spatial information in multiple scales are involved. Here, the zoning information is in relatively larger scale, like blocks and region. And so we will present them in the traditional 2D vector style, while the cadastral data of a certain building that can be shown in 3D models with a clear structure and clear and tangible structure. And for the detailed information about its properties, all of them can be stored in the attribute table of the data sets, and we can use those information for styling and management. And here is another application for land change management. Here, this is a more complicated system developed based on SuperMap iDesktopX, and it involves a large amount of data has imported into this system, and we would need to use for the comparison, updating, and query of land use change, and that would be a quite complex process. And so here we have created some models to complete all the work, so that for the users who are not experts for GIS applications, they can simply set the parameters they need, and from the model, then the system will automatically complete all the works they need to do and show the final result in the map, in this map window. And here is a more complicated system developed from SuperMap iDesktopX. For instance, you can see that this environment monitoring system has a customized interface, and with database connected to it, it has functions like statistical analysis, querying local records, and the analysis of pollution influence. And all those functions can be completed by a few clicks, as we have integrated all the spatial analysis tools together. Like the model we introduced before, and so this is a more user-friendly system developed from Supermap iDesktopX. Also, here is another example of the spatial temporal land data management system. The spatial data of the same area can be imported into the system, and so the user can easily switch the time according to the time bar below, and have a comparison about on the changes of building constructions and land use types. And all those customized systems were developed from Supermap iDesktopX using Python and Java, while most of the functions were realized by using or combining tools that we're going to learn in this webinar. So it's time for us to talk about some details for this webinar or for this course. And as we might have learned from our invitation email, Supermap training camp for this year is divided into 8 sessions. And today is the first session, and therefore, the followings are scheduled at the same time for each week. So here are the timelines for this webinar, and all this time are written in UTC +8 time zone. So it would be 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. every Wednesday, and we will have a break, and we will take a break on May 4th. So the final session will take place on June 8th, and you may convert the time and dates you may convert the time and dates here to your own time zone and add them to your calendar so you won't miss them. And we will meet virtually every week through this Zoom webinar you registered. And for each week, we will have a specific topic to focus on. And for this week, it's a simple introduction to Supermap iDesktopX. As we said before, I will guide you to download and get free access to Supermap iDesktopX, and then we will get familiar with its interface and data organization with a simple demo. And the next week, we're going to learn how to import multiple source data into Supermap iDesktopX and set their coordinate systems. Also, we can edit them or integrate them together by changing the format or convert the format of them. And for the third and fourth week, we are going to focus on the application and analysis of vector data and raster data, respectively. We have designed some demos that is similar to the practical GIS projects for each of them, and I will lead you to work on them step by step. You will learn both the commonly used spatial analysis and processing tools, and also some general project workflow from those demos. And the latter half of this course will pay more attention to advanced GIS skills after we learned how to create beautiful maps in Supermap iDesktopX and design a layout for the maps with some necessary elements, we will going to learn how to create digital maps that can present data and that can present varied information based on map skill, and also add some diagrams or locator maps to our digital map. And also we will have a simple introduction on the application of web mapping. And for the seventh week, we're going to learn geoprocessing automation. Here, we will learn how to build a model to automatically executed complicated GIS operations and save it for reviews, which will significantly improve the efficiency of your work. And finally, we will learn a cutting-edge method as in the integration of GIS and video. Here we will first learn how to extract spatial information from an actual GIS file, from an actual video file, and then we will integrate it, the information we extracted. We will processing the spatial information we extracted in Supermap iDesktopX, and then add it to a bit, and then add it to the video. And although we will only meet like 2 hours once a week, your time of learning and practice are not limited to the virtual webinar, as we have provided you at least one demos for each of the topic. There is a lot of materials for you to work on yourself. And also, I will give you step-by-step instructions on how to complete those demos using Supermap iDesktopX. And if you feel like the materials, there's too much materials, and you can't complete all of them in the webinar, then you can use some of your free time for your own practice. And also, I have designed some after class quiz for each of the topic, so that you can have a better review, a better understanding of what we have learned during the webinar. And every week, I will take 5 to 15 minutes to have a review on the quiz for the last week. And we would recommend you to spend about 4 to 8 hours a week for each of the sessions and materials we provide you. And all of your hard work has a reward. At the end of a training camp, you will have a chance to validate your skills with Supermap iDesktop with a certification. And every week you can earn some scores by attending this live webinar, and complete the after class quiz I provided to you, and also by taking part in the discussions in the chatting box, or with your meaningful questions and answers about the class. Also, you can communicate with you by email after the class. And finally, the attendance will. Your attendance to the webinar session will make up 40% of your final evaluation, and your quiz skill and your quiz score will make up 60% of your final skill. And also for those who show your learning passion during the discussion, you can earn some extra scores for your final evaluation as well. So finally, after the 8 sections, if you have earned a total score more than 80, then you are eligible for the Supermap certification, and we will send it to you by email by July. And so that's all about the general introduction of the software and the webinar. Now we will talk about the data and the software we are going to use for the webinar. So the slides and the material for each of the class will be shared on Google Drive, and the link will be sent to you by email a day before each session. And I think some of you might just registered for this webinar today or a few hours ago. So maybe you missed them. So maybe you missed those email, but don't worry. My colleagues will share the links for our class material in the chatting box. So if you haven't downloaded it, download them now. And then the software we're going to use is Supermap iDesktopX, and here we have provided you the link to download it. And I believe most of you have already downloaded it following the tips in our email. And for those who haven't done it, never mind. Here I will have a quick instruction on how to download it and get a free trial license for it. So now first, to download Supermap iDesktopX, we can use the link here. If you have got the slides, you can use the slides in the link, or my colleagues will send the download link in the chatting box as well. And so here I will copy this address. And in the browser, directly visit our official website. And here we can scroll down a little, and you can see this is SuperMap's 10i series. This is the newest version of our software. And here, as we have a lot of products, here listed a lot of products, and what we need to use for this webinar is inside iDesktop. So click this link, and here we will find the newest version, 10i 2021, and also click. Now this is a list of all the software or sample data we can download it, and here we are going to use Supermap iDesktopX. You should notice that it ends with an X, and that's the version we are going to use. And for the type, if you use Windows computer, then that should be Windows 64 bin. If you prefer Linux, you can download the version for Linux as well. And to download it here, you can find this line titled as download, and click on this button, then you can download it. If it takes too long, don't worry, because we won't learn too much. We won't learn too much about the software today, so you can just so you can watch my operations first and have a general understanding of what we need to do for the software and practice by yourself later. And for those you have downloaded it, now let me show you the file structure of the package you downloaded. And here, as you have downloaded it and unzip it, then the folder should name as this one, and just go inside into it. And for this package you downloaded, you don't have to install it, because as we can see, in this file structure, there is no setup. There is no setup files for you. You can directly double-click on Supermap iDesktopX, and that will automatically open that software. And for some of you, the software might ask you for a license. And after I open up it, I will give you a guide on how to set or get the license. Okay, now if you open up Supermap iDesktopX and you can see the software, then there's nothing wrong with your software or your computer. And for those, and then you can take a break. And for those who find the software, ask you for a license for it. So let me show you. Here, if the software asks you for a license, you can choose this local license, as this is our recommended method for the license. And if it's the first time you have downloaded and used Supermap products on your computer, then it will automatically generate a 90 days free trial license for you, and you don't have to do any more operations on it. If the software can't find a license on your computer, then I will show you how to apply a free local license and use it. So I will stop here for a minute and check about your questions, and then I will show you how to apply for free license. For those who do not use the newest version of Supermap iDesktopX, it's okay for like the first 4 sessions of this webinar. But for the operation about the processing automation and the integration of video and GIS, I would recommend you to use the newest version. So you can download the newest version later. The differences between Supermap iDesktop and Supermap iDesktopX is that like Supermap iDesktop is a more stable version, but you can only use that on Windows operation system, while Supermap iDesktopX has some more cutting-edge tools like processing automation and integration of GIS and video, also machine learning tool sets, and it can also be installed on both Windows operation system and Linux operation system. So we would recommend you to learn Supermap iDesktopX first. And for those who are concerned about the evaluation for certification, you can download the material for today's session. And in the slides, you can see the evaluation criteria for the certificate. Okay, for those you say, you find that there is no, because I send you a zip file as the material, so you don't have any preview on you don't have any preview on the material, you can directly download it. Here, let me try. Okay, you can see it's a zip file, so there won't be a file review in the center. You can directly click on this download button here to download the zip file and unzip it. And okay, now let's move on. So we have downloaded Supermap iDesktopX, and for some of you, you might have the problem on the settings or applying for the license. Here first, you need to know where to apply for a free license. Like here, we're still in the download page of Supermap products, and it's also the official page of the official website for Supermap. And here we can scroll up, and on the top, we can find that here is a support, and here we can move the mouse to support, and under it, we can see that the last one listed here is trial license. That's where we are going to apply for our trial license. Just click on it. Or if you have problems to find it, my colleagues will send you the links. In the chatting box. And here you can say that it asks you to sign in. If you already have a Supermap account, simply sign in. If you don't have it, here you can click on Create Account. And you can set your username, password, confirm your password. And here we need to verify your identity with your phone number. And to do so, first on the left, you need to choose your own region, like which country you are in now. And if your country are not listed here, you can contact us by email so that we can apply the free trial license for you. And for those you already, and then after you input your phone number, click Get Verified Code, and you will receive a code, input it here, and then you can create your account. Here, I won't create a new account. I will log in and use my own. And click sign in. And that might take some time. And for those who can't input your phone number, first I will show you how to, I will show all the participants how to apply for it. And then I will let you know what information you need to send to me or to our help center, or to our support center to get the trial license. Okay, so if there's something wrong with my connection to the applying system, so here I will just simply show you the documents on how to apply it. Okay, hi everyone. Can you hear me? Sorry for the interruption on the internet. So, okay, now let's continue on how to applying for a free trial license. Here, after you have signed in on Supermap Online, then you can directly enter this applying trial license interface, and you need to provide some information about yourself, your email, and then it's time to choose what products you are going to use. Here for the product series, you need to select it as 10i and 9D. And for the licensed products, you can simply check all of them. And so that you don't worry, so that you don't have to worry that, oh, I applied for a license, but that's not the license for the product you are using. And then for the way of here, usually we would recommend you to use computer name, and you can check your computer name in Windows settings and simply copy it and paste it here and submit to us. Then it will send Then it will send you the trial license into this email address you just entered. And here, if you still have some confusions on how to get your computer name, here, simply open up your Windows settings and choose System. And in the System tab, scroll down to About, click on it. And here we can see that here is a device name. And that is a name we are going to copy and paste it here as your computer name and click Submit. Then that free trial license will send to your email address. And for those who cannot sign in on Supermap Online, you can simply send me your computer name, and you can simply send me your computer name, but do not send them in the chatting box. You can send that by email. Here, there is my email address, or send to training@supermap.com. Either way is okay. And after this webinar, I will apply the trial license for you. And after you get your trial license, our last step is to set your trial license so that the software can read it. And now, let me show you. Here, the trial license you applied for should look like this. If you find there are multiple attachments in your email, you only need to download this one, and with LIC 9D, that is a trial license we will use for Supermap iDesktopX. Download it from your email and save it. And then it's time for you and save it in a safe place on your computer. And then I will show you how to let the software read it. Go to where you have downloaded Supermap iDesktopX. Like this is the package we unzipped, and enter it. And here we can see there are a lot of folders. Here you need to find the folder named as support and open it. Here inside support, you can find there is a folder called Supermap License Center. This is where it contains the tools we need to use to set the license. And enter this folder named Supermap License Center. And here you will find there is a execution file with icon look like a log. Double click on it, and here, this is what you are going to use to set the license. And here I will show you English interface for it. This is interface you will say if the system language for your computer is English. And here you need to navigate on the tabs at the top and click on update. That's where and when you enter the update, when you enter this update page, then you need to specify the path of your license file. Here in license location, you can click on this icon and navigate to where you have stored Supermap, the license we just applied. That should be the file. Go to the path. If we have entered the path but cannot see that file, that could be, then you need to specify. You need to specify the file. You need to specify the file type you are looking for. Like here. Here you can see. Here we can't say LIC9D, and so we can change the file type we're looking for. Here you choose it to 9D10I or 11 ends with LIC9D. And now you can see the license file you need to use, and simply click open. On your computer, that should be open. And after open it, here you can see the licensing information and the duration for it. Then just click update. By doing so, you can get access to Supermap iDesktopX. And after 90 days, this license will expire, and then you can apply for a new license and update it, and then you can still have access to Supermap iDesktopX. And so now, if you don't have questions about this, if you don't have any questions about this settings on license, you can take a break for 10 minutes, or you can discuss, or if you have any questions or topics you are really interested about, then you can send them in the chatting box, and I will review and answer your questions during this 10 minutes. Okay, guys, now it's time to really getting back and continuing our introduction on the basic knowledge of Supermap iDesktopX. And here, this is the interface of Supermap iDesktopX. We can see that it can be divided into several sections. And here, there are 4 sections we use most frequently. The tool tabs on the top, and Workspace Manager and Layer Manager on the left, and the map window in the center. And here, the tool tabs is where we can find all the useful tools we designed for spatial data processing and analysis. And you can easily navigate among them by switching these tabs. Like each of the tab, like the tab name is the summary of the functions. And so that, like, if you want to do some data processing, you can switch to data tab and then find the tool you need to use. And here, Workspace Manager is the list of all the data source connected into the current workspace, and also your saved maps, and and saved 3D scenes can be seen in Workspace Manager. But here for the data sets, you can only see their names in Workspace Manager. And if you want to visualize them, simply double click on them, and then they will be opened in this map window. And so map window is where we can see the visualized data sets. And when we are visualizing those data sets, there are three things we are mostly care about. First is which data sets are we visualized in this window? And the second one is what are the orders of all the data sets visualized? And the third one is how each of them are visualized. And all of these three things are controlled by with some essential, with some basic but essential functional buttons. And also, we can open a output window at the bottom to show some information about your current operation in the workspace. And finally, on the right, this window is really flexible. Like here, you can see it can be the window for the catalog or the window for the toolbox. And it also can be the window for properties, layer settings, and etc. And you can easily switch between those windows by clicking on the tabs at the bottom. And later, I will show you how to use all those sections in Supermap iDesktopX when we really go into the software. Now, before we go to use the software, first, I would like you to have a general understanding of the data organization of Supermap iDesktopX. Here, from this structure, we can see that everything we did in Supermap iDesktopX is stored in this workspace, and it can record it what data source we have connected to the workspace and all the work we have done inside it. And when saving it, we can save it as an independent file on our computer. And also, if you are working in a database, environment, you can also save the workspace into your database as a table. And then inside of the database, there's one more thing I need to clarify, that although the workspace recorded what data source we have used and what we have created, what maps or scenes we have created in Supermap iDesktopX, it is not the physical storage of the data set of our spatial data sets. All our spatial data sets are stored in data sources. And here, data sources can be connected to the workspace. So if you want to share your work to others, you need to share both your workspace and also all the data sources connected to that workspace, so that the others can see your work on their computer. If you only share a workspace to them, because they don't have the data, they don't have the actual data, so they can see the actual output of your work. And then for data sources, similarly, it can be saved as an independent file and with Udb or Udbx. And also it can be saved into databases if you are dealing with large amount of data. And inside the data sources, we stored multiple data sets. We stored multiple data sets, like vector data sets, raster data sets, or some tables or images. And here, what we need to notice is that in the Windows File Explorer, you can see the independent file of your file data sources, but you cannot directly open your data sources in Windows File Explorer to see the data sets inside it. You can only see the data sets inside the data source by open the data source in SuperMap iDesktopX, and then you can see each of the data sets stored inside it. And once you have those data sets in SuperMap iDesktopX, then you can visualize them as layers to create 2D maps or 3D scenes. And here, for this webinar, we will only focus on the creation, the processing, analysis, and visualization of 2D data. And all the maps or scenes you created from those data sets, they are stored in the workspace. So when you are sharing your work to the others, if you only send them your data sources, they can only see the raw data sets, but they cannot see the maps or scenes you created from your data. And besides all of this, Workspace also stored your map layouts and diagrams or models you created in SuperMap iDesktopX, and also all the symbols you used for visualization is stored in Workspace as well. So here we have a simple summary of all the key structures in SuperMap, key elements in the data structure of SuperMap iDesktopX. First is Workspace. As we said, it's a record of your working environment, and so it stores the path of your data source, and also you need to remember it. And there's one thing you need to notice is that one workspace can connect it to multiple data sources. Excuse me. And for data source, this is the storage. This is the actual storage for our spatial data, and it can store, and both vector data and raster data can be saved in the same data sources. So that is to say, all the data involved in your project can be saved in one data source. So it's easier for you to manage them. And then for data sets itself, the most important thing you need to remember is that there is no independent file for each of the data sets. You can only see them in the data source in SuperMap iDesktopX. And then in SuperMap iDesktopX, once you visualize them, so once you visualize a data set, then you can set the way of visualization by setting the layers. There's multiple settings for the layers. And also, one data set can be visualized in 2 layers. That is to say, you can add a data set into a map window twice, and then there will be 2 layers for the same data sets, and you can visualize those 2 layers in different ways. So there's more flexibility on map creating. And now it's time to do our demos, and I have shared the demo to you as it's part of our course material. And here, as it's the first session of our webinar, so our task is quite simple. We only need to open SuperMap iDesktopX and connect the data source I provided to you in SuperMap iDesktopX and see what data sets we have inside that data source. And we will use some of those data sets to create a world map in SuperMap iDesktopX and save it. And then we will save the map and save the workspace, and everything is done. So here, the data we are going to use is stored in the material I shared to you in the folder named 01, and there is a UDB file called world. And here, let me show you. here, if you have downloaded the course material for today's session, and it should look and unzip that file, then you can see the structure like this. Like this PDF file is the slides we just say, and here the data source is stored as Udb and Udbx. It's a double file format, but in Supermap iDesktopX, we usually only need to select the Udb file to open. But anyway, do not delete Udb file. Here, the Udb file, this Udb file is what we need to use. And if you have downloaded this file, and if you have seen the file structure clearly, and you can open your Supermap iDesktopX. And I will give you 2 seconds to do that, and I will say if there are some questions about it. Okay, let me see. There are some questions about what we have discussed before. So, what's the difference between Udb and Udbx? Like, it's hard to say if you are not like Udbx is the newest is the relatively new, relatively latest. Udbx is the latest version file type for data source, and usually we would recommend you to use Udbx for 2D project, but for some 3D project, maybe you need to use Udb. But for most cases, they won't make any differences. So don't mind. And well, in this demo, I just want to explore the Udb for this one time. And for the demos in the other sessions, mostly we would use data source in the Udbx format. And then you will really see that there's little differences between them. And for the data sets inside the data sources, we can convert them to like shapefile or to JSON, but we will not use that today. That's what we designed for the next week. And if you are interested in that, see you next week. And so I think you don't have the problem. For those you have downloaded and get access to Supermap iDesktopX, I think you won't have problem for now. So here, now it's time for us to really have a look on its interface. Here we can see, as we said, on the top is the tool tabs, and the format of the tool tabs is automatically adjusted according to the screen resolution of your own computer. So what it looks like on your computer might be a little different on what you can see on my screen, but it's okay, as we would refer to the passes and the tools one by one by the name. Like if I click data processing here, and I will say you can go to projection transformation, and you switch over the tools below. And if the interface is a little different, don't worry. You only need to remember those names. And here we can see we can easily switch among these tabs to find tools for different functions. And there's one thing you need to know is that now we don't have any data set open, or we don't have any data sources connected to this workspace. So we can only see these tabs here. Once we connected the data sources and open the data sets, there will be more tabs, and those tabs is more flexible. You can only see them when you meet the criteria, like you have opened a map window. And now it's time for us to open our data source. To do that, we need to find Workspace Manager here on the left. Under it, you can find there is a node called data sources. Click on it and then right click. Here we can choose the first one, open file data source. And here you need to navigate to the materials I provided you before and select world.udb and simply click open. And if you don't want to find the data source and right click, also you can do that in the start tab. Here in the start, you can see that there is a group called data sources. And under this group, you can see there is icon called file. That is to say we're dealing with file data sources, and click on it. Here you can also find the function called open file data source. If you click on it, here you can still navigate to where you stored these data sources and select it and click open, either way. And here, after we have opened the world data sources, we can see it's already connected to the workspace. And to see the data sets inside it, we need to click on this little triangle beside little triangle here. And here we can see there is a list on all the data sets inside this data sources, inside this data source. And here the first one is called image. That's an image file. And also we can see under it, there are some vector files as well. We will explore them later. And now, when we are talking about explore data set, the first thing we're concerned about really is its property. And so we can select the image and then right click on it. And here we can select properties. And once we click properties, we can say on the right for the flexible windows, here it opened a window for properties. If we don't want to look at it, like we want to check the toolbox, we can switch the windows by click on those tabs at the bottom. And now we would want to see the properties of this image data set. And here we can see that on the top, on the top middle of the window, here is a tab for image. That's some basic information about the image itself, like its resolution, and what's its no value, how many rows and columns it has. And then if we want to see the coordinate system information, we can click here, the coordinate system tab. And now we're switching to the coordinate system tab, and we can know the coordinate system for this data set. And also here is a tab called data set. And in this tab, really, we are going to see the dataset bounds for it, or if there are some descriptions for it. And then if we want to look at the properties for some other data, the properties for other data sets, like we don't have to select those data sets again and then right click, choose properties. That's too tedious. Actually, we can simply here in the Workspace Manager, like we click the lake data set. We can see that once we select data, once we select the lake on the right, here, the properties window is changed to the properties of lake data sets. And this is a vector data set. So there's a few more tabs to explore, like for the vector itself, its coordinate system, the data sets. And also here we can see we have a attributes tab where we can see all the attributes set for lake data sets, and we can add more attributes or delete some of the attributes we don't like. And also we can see the range of this data set. And as we have talked about, we're talking about attributes. Here we can only see the names of the attributes and what types of it, but we cannot see the records for each of the feature in the lake data sets. And if we want to see the actual records for each of the feature, here we can move back to Workspace Manager, select the lake, and right-click on it. Here, the first one is what we're going to choose. Browse attributes. Just simply click on it. Here, we can see the attribute tables for lake. And we can see the names, it's the depths for each of the lake, and its area in square miles or in square kilometers. And if we look at the bottom, here we can see some system fields are hidden. If we want to see the system fields, uncheck it. Here you can see there are more attributes. But really we don't use these system fields a lot. So still we need to check it, and it's much more clear. And then there's some basic operations on the vector attributes. Like here, we have the information about depths for each of the lake. So we can select this field, and then we can sort all the features by the value of their depth. Simply select this field, keep your mouse here and right click, and here we can choose sorted features by the depths, exceeding or descending, either way. And also for the areas of the lakes, usually we would like to see some statistical summaries about this about this attribute. So we can select this field and right click on it. And here, look, we can see, and here we can see there's a line called Statistic Analysis. And once we put our mouse here, we can see we can summarize this field by the sum or the average, the maximum, minimum, or variance. And here, maybe we want to see the average areas of all the lake features in square miles. So click on it. Now, since nothing happened, actually, we have the result in the output window. If we don't open it, it's a simple line here. But if we put our mouse here at the bottom left on this output window, then you can see all the information information about operations we have done in this workspace. And also the last line is the statistical summary about the average square miles, of the lake features. And if you want to keep this output window open, here on the right, you can click this dock button. Then this window is fixed at the bottom. If you don't want to see it, simply close it. And here, double click again. Double click on the line at the bottom left. You can open it again. And now we can close this attribute table. And it's time to visualize our data set. You can simply double click on lake, and then you can open a map window for it, or you can right click on it and select add to new map. Now we open it as well. And here you can use your mouse wheel to zoom in or zoom out. And here we're in the PAM model, so we cannot select either of these features on the map in the map window. If you want to select them, here you can see among the quick buttons, you can click select, and now your mouse can select all of the features. And often we want to see the attribute we want to connect the attribute table to our features. And to do so, we need to do that in the layer manager here, not in the data sources or for the data set itself. We need to do it in the layer manager, remember it. And here, now we only have one layer. So select this layer and right click on it. Here we can see there is function code from associated table. That's how we can connect it, the attribute tables with those features. Simply click on it. Here we can see it automatically opened a attribute table at the bottom of the map window. And now, once we select the feature in the map window, it will highlight its attribute record in this attribute window. Or if we select one of these records in this attribute window, now we can see in the map window, it automatically navigates to the feature we selected in this attribute table. We can try it. And if you don't want to select either one of them, just click on this black area. And then about all the data sets we stored in this data source, as we said, the first one, the image is an image. And we can see that on the left, there is an icon, looks like a picture. So that indicated to us this is image. This is an image. This is an image file. And for the line vector, we can see that there's a line beside it. So it's, and for this polygon, and for the polygon data set, it has a polygon. And so from this icon, we can easily tell what type of the data set it is. And we can see now they are ordered, all those data sets, they are ordered as image, line, polygon, line, line, and text, text, line. It's quite ridiculous, right? So we can order them. And if we want to order those data sets in the data source, you need to select this data source first. And then once you select it, right click on it. And here you can see there is an option called sort data sets. And here you can sort those data sets by their names, or by their type, or by their create order, or by their feature count. We can try. First, we will order them by name. That's how it looks like. Or I would prefer to order them by type. That's much more clear. And you can try the other two ways to visualize them. And that's all we need to know about how to explore our data sets in Supermap iDesktopX. Now I will say if you have any questions about it, and later I will lead you to create your own map using all this data set, using the data sets we provided to you. And also, if you miss something, you can still, referring to these slides, it has the instructions on each of the steps we have taken, like how to open a data source, how to open data file, how to open data sets in the map window and check its property, browse its attribute tables, and have some operations on the attribute tables. And here we have listed some general categories of the data set. You can refer into them, and now it's easier for you to know the type of the data sets. And now let me see if you have any more questions. Okay, about DEM, this is a more advanced skill we need to learn later. So here we want to talk about the contribution of DEM, but later for the session, for the rest session, we will see how to create surface like DEM from point data, and you can looking for that sessions. And then for image data set, no, we don't have a size limit on the image data set, but if your image is too large, we would recommend you to put it in the database first. And any more questions about what we have done in Supermap iDesktopX? Okay, my colleagues will told you how to generate the license for it. And so now let's move on. Here I will switch back to iDesktopX, and I will close all the windows we opened before. And it's time for us to create a very simple world map. And to do that, first we need to select which data sets we are going to use to create a map. So here we will use the first one is a capital. Select it, but don't open it. And then select this lake data set. You need to press Control on your keyboard, and then select lake. Now to do so, you can select both capital and lake, and then still press Control and select this continent, roving, and ocean, and image. That's the way we select multiple data sets at once. And then keep it and right click here, as we can choose Add to New Map. By doing so, we can add all those features. We can add all this. We can add all of these data sets into one map window at once, as you can see here. And if you want to add another data sets into this map, like this airline, you can select it and simply drag it into map window. Now we have added to our map window. And here we can see that in the map manager, now we have multiple maps. Now we have multiple layers here in the map window. So they are listed in the layer manager, and they are ordered according to how they are ordered according to their overlay order in this map window. Like if we zoom in here, like put our mouse at the North America and zoom in, here we can see North America, this text is on the top of this lake features. And if we want to overlay lake features on the top of North America, then we can here in the layer manager, select the layer of lake and drag it to the top. Now, this is how we change the layer orders. And we can see the lake is overlaid on North America. But it doesn't look nice, right? Maybe actually we don't need a layer for lake. And so here we can control whether a layer is visible or not visible. I click this icon, look like an eye. If we click on it, then the eye was closed and we can't see lake in the map window. And it's the same for the airline layer. And so that's how you can control the visibility of the layers. And also here, let's make it visible again. As we said before, we can select those features. And sometimes if we don't want to select, and sometimes like if I only want to select North America, but I click here, then I will select this lake first. But if I want to make this unselectable, here still we can control it in the layer manager. And there is an icon beside that eye. Now it's blue, so the layer leg can be selected. Now let's click on this icon, make it to be gray. And if we select, then we can only select North America, but we can't select any features on the leg, on any features in the lake layer. And there is other icon besides the selectable or not selectable. That one looks like a pen. That is, if we make it blue, if we click it and make it blue, that will make this layer editable. So if you want to edit a data set, first you need to open it in the map window, then make that layer in the map window editable, and then you can edit that layer. But here today we won't edit it, and next week we will learn how to edit our vector data set. And also the final icon is make weather is a controller for whether the features in the layer is snappable or not. And we will learn more about it in next week as well. And so now you can control and design your map. That is simple map, whatever, as you wish. We don't have a criteria on how to design this map. And once you have done your work, like for me, I don't want to see the lake layers or the airline layers. And that's all I need to set for this map. And now I want to save this work. To do so, just put your mouse in this map window and right click. Here we can see that there is an option for save this map. Just click on it. And now we can input a name for it, and we can call it a world map. And click OK. And now once we saved it, we can see that in the Workspace Manager, under the Not for Maps, there is a world map. Now if we close this map window, now we can close this map window, but what we have done won't last. As here under map, we can still double click on the world map, and what I have created before is saved. But our workspace haven't saved. If we don't save the workspace and directly close Supermap iDesktopX, we will still lost what we have done. So the next step is to save workspace. And to do so, you can simply click on the save button in the quick button, or select this untitled workspace and right click on it and select save workspace. And here on the left, we can see that we can simply save it as a file workspace, or if you are using if you are using databases, you can try to save your workspace into those databases. Here, for our whole webinar, we will save our workspace as the file workspace. And here, click this icon. We can navigate to the path where we want to save it. And we will save in the same folder, materials 01, and give it a name. I will name it also as world map. And click save. And just click OK. Now everything is saved. We can close this map, and we can also close this workspace. To do so, select the workspace named as world map and right click on it. Here we can see we can select close workspace. Now the workspace is closed, and now the workspace is an unsaved workspace as untitled workspace. And if we want to see the work we have done before, here we can select this untitled workspace and right click. Here we can open file workspace. That's where we saved our works before. And select world map. And once we open this workspace, we can see that our data sources already connected to it, and we can see the data sets inside it, and we can directly open the map we have saved. And that's all the basic knowledge you need to know about Supermap iDesktopX. And let's have a simple review. It's just about how to add multiple data sets into one map window and adjust their orders, and to know the meaning of each of this icon, of each of the icon besides these layers, and save your map, and save your workspace, and open your workspace, and then you can open your workspace anytime again and save your work and save the work you saved. And that's all for today. Here's the quiz for today's session, and you can scan this QR score or use these links below to complete the quiz. And my colleagues will send the links for the quiz in the chatting box as well. And you don't have to do it in hurry, because you will have 6 days, that is to say almost a week, to complete it. And there are only 5 questions. So be careful about your answers. And thank you. If you have further technical support outside of the session, you can also contact this technical support center. And also you can visit our website for more products or resources, and follow us on the social media as well. And I will stay here for about 5 seconds, for about 5 minutes. If you don't have any questions, you're free to go. If you have any of them, just send them in the chatting box. And have a good day.